Good morning, Mark Latham here, Dreams Eternal, OSAS. I share this channel with my wife, and I wanted to do a posting this morning in a reply to a Mr. Paul Jennings, who is the pastor of Stockport Evangelical Church. You can visit Paul on his YouTube site on Stockport Evangelical Church channel. And I would advise any ex-Jehovah's Witness or Jehovah's Witness who is looking to leave the cult that we've all been in and explore Christianity in different ways, but with some balance, then Paul's channel is a very good one to actually go and visit, and I would strongly recommend it. Why do I know that? Well, there are other Jehovah's Witnesses, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that know Paul very well, and he comes highly recommended. And from what I've seen of his channel, I would certainly recommend that myself. The reason for this posting is to just basically reply to Paul. He's not looking for a reply right now, so but just to sort of say thank you first of all for your latest video that you did on being sensitive to exjws, and it's a message to other pastors out there, elders in other churches, to recognize that when a Jehovah's Witness walks into their church, there's a whole avenue of things going on there inside the mind of that Jehovah's Witness that maybe wouldn't be there with your average member of the public. And it's very true that when Paul says that to be sensitive with these individuals, he's absolutely correct. It's not just being sensitive, I suppose it's being alert to be able to assist these individuals when problems arise, when issues start to seep out from their psychological profiles, for instance, the way that they might suddenly view something. They will need lots of patience, time, understanding, and indeed, of course, love being the ultimate goal. You put all of those together and there's a very good chance that the ingredients there of those things of patience and love and understanding and allowing them the freedom to just express themselves, those are the ingredients that will be successful in allowing the Jehovah's Witness to understand and explore other theologies, to understand other doctrines, and to assimilate all of those thought processes in such a way that they can start to understand what it means to them in their walk with Christ. Now, I wrote down just a few things, Paul, that you'd said, and I agree with everything you have said, so please don't think this is anything other than just basically an add-on to it as an ex-JW. So I do appreciate what you've actually said already. But one of the things that is extremely prevalent in all JWs is that by the time they actually get to a point where they are walking into a church, they will have already gone through a mountain of stuff, a mountain of pressures to get that far. It's a monumental step for a JW to walk into a church, to understand and want to know what the church really is all about. They will have gone through a lot to get there, believe me on that. And already they've paid a heavy price in most cases to get that far. But you can guarantee if they have got that far, then this is somebody that is willing to take that next step and has shown tremendous strength already. So one of the things I would say to anybody out there that is in a position where they are in a church and JWs are entering that church is to welcome them and allow them the freedom to just be who they want to be within the church. Don't impose anything on them. That's the worst thing you can possibly do. Allow them to explore with questions, and more importantly, one of the best avenues of helping someone to recover is by asking questions back, lots of them. So for instance, if they raise questions, the answer you would give would be another question. and show them from the scriptures, from other Bibles, that the whole message of Christianity, although being very simple, is something that they will have to start relearning from scratch. And by doing that, you can raise questions with them. Well, how did you see this particular? Well, we used to view it this way, X, Y, Z, and these are the scriptures we used. Can I show you another scripture? Can I show you maybe 2 or 3 scriptures? And then I'd ask you, what do you think of that particular message now? And over a period of weeks and months, maybe even years, that you'll start to see a great deal of progress. Now, some come on quicker than others and progress very well. Others may leave and just run a mile. And don't be surprised if that happens, because it's very common. Because it's just too much for them to enter a church. For instance, and this is an example of my wife and I, going to church is something we still can't do. We're finding that very, very difficult. And I'm being honest about that. I have been to church a couple of times myself, but I still find it very difficult to commit. Do I want to commit? Well, right now, that's something that we're trying to work out. Whether or not that's right or wrong, that's just down to us. But we're all very different. And we want to do something, but this is where it starts, the old doctrines and the old entrenched views come in. For instance, many of us are highly suspicious of anything organised after we come out of the religion. Very suspicious. We know how quickly people can cut us off because of the shunning that we've gone through, both when we were disfellowshipped and when we decided to resign. When we were reinstated, we resigned straight afterwards, virtually straight afterwards anyway. So we know how easy it is for people to cut you off. And once it's happened to you, it makes you harder and less open, shall we say, to letting that happen ever again, because you don't want to go through the hurts. Now, these are the type of issues. I won't use the word baggage. I think that's the wrong type of terminology. I think it's slightly patronising to say baggage, but they do come with them with a lot of sensitivities. Now, the pain that you mentioned, yes, there's a lot of pain there. If a husband or a wife is leaving the organisation and the partner's staying in, wow, you can just see what's happening there. Sometimes they might lose their business. Sometimes they might lose their accommodation. Sometimes they'll lose their job. They'll definitely lose their family. So that's a whole set of issues going on straight away. Many of them are or have contemplated suicide because they've lost everything. And so they're coming with an open mind, desperate inside their hearts, but very defensive. And so there are a number of sensitivities involved with all of those things. When they start to see theology being expressed very freely in a certain way, you're right, Paul, that they could straight away get their backs up. Let me give you an example. And this might sound silly, but to me it was horrific at the time. I look back now and I laugh. But as I said, last Easter I went to a church around the corner, and the parishioners were all taking communion, and I was invited to join them, and it was wonderful. So I thought, yes, I'll definitely take the bread and the wine. And I queued and I waited, and as I got up to taking the bread and the wine, I looked down and I was absolutely horrified at what I saw. I saw a loaf of bread from a supermarket, pre-sliced, and I saw a container of what looked like squash. It wasn't wine, and they were using this for communion. Now, at the time, that really upset me, because for me, the memorial is one of the reasons we came out of that religion, because we wanted to treat it as something very special to us. And I wanted to see unleavened bread. I wanted to see a rich wine. Those things I needed to see, and I didn't see those. I saw people breaking up bits of sliced bread and some squash. Now, for me, at that time, that was a real shock. I look back now and you know, I came away and I was very upset about that. It wasn't until I spoke to a lovely brother called the Happy Free Thinker on the phone, and I talked it through with him, another ex-JW, and we worked it through ourselves together. He talked it through with me, made me realise the symbolic value of that rather than the actual material itself. And to others that might seem very simple, but at the time it was a major hurdle to overcome. But there you go, that's just one simple example of where things can go very wrong. Time to adjust, you mentioned about that, it's very true. There should never ever be a sort of time limit on these things. As I say, it could be a lifelong adjustment from that point onwards. They could be so scarred that it would take them the rest of their lives to adjust. For others, they propel themselves into something, into Christianity. We've got so many variants of and examples of people that are doing different things now. Many of them are Christian, and many of them are being extremely vocal about that now, and pointing the finger and saying they've wasted too many years already. You mentioned another one which is very interesting about wanting to go back. That's something that my wife and I certainly have never felt that, but I know others that have, and we are talking to a number of brothers at the moment that feel the need to go back. And it's almost like a comfort blanket. It's because they know where they are. They know they're going back to a lot of pain because they'll be shunned in the Kingdom Hall for months, if not a year, 2 years before they're accepted back. But to go back to that comfort blanket is something that they may feel is right for them. And that might be correct. It might be that they need to go back and experience the shunning of it. I know a couple of brothers that have done that have gone back. And once they've gone back, after they've been learning about Christianity, they suddenly, their eyes are open to everything that's going on in that Kingdom Hall, and it's never quite the same. So they might need to go back and just redose themselves to understand that they really are out of this now. Very few of them go back and stay in. It just doesn't happen in my experience, the ones I've been talking to. Another thing is that JWs come with a preconceived idea that the church is already condemned. They might not want to think that, but at the back of their minds, right at the back here, entrenched in the back there, it's part of Christendom, and therefore it's lined up, it's on death row, it's ready for Armageddon. And everything that belongs to the church will be destroyed, because that's what they've been told. That's what they've been brought up with for many, many years. So you put all of these different things together, and it's very clear that welcoming JWs into the church brings with it certain niche sensitivities, things that need to be looked after. Not saying that they're not powerful people. Many of these JWs that we know are very powerful people in themselves. But the mental freedom that they need, the mental freedom to progress with themselves in their own self-discovery, to find out who the real identity of that person really is, for them to understand who they truly are, and to be able to say, I want to walk with Christ, for instance, when they follow a Christian path, is an amazing journey for many of them, and they need a lot of time and love. So I would advise any pastor out there that is looking at JWs, wondering what on earth is going on here with this individual. It might be that they're erupting with something that underneath the surface of it is actually something completely different, but it's built up inside them to such an extent that they just explode with something. And it might be very different from the real issue, and it just needs those few layered questions to ask them to find out exactly what is bothering them and help them along the way. Finding that path is probably the most difficult thing for any JW. But with the right love and sensitivity and patience that all of you can show out there, it's proving that it's working. And there are many more on the cusp of coming out now. We've seen that, we read about it in the emails. Many of the questions that come from the JWs when we were leaving was, well, where are you going to go to? You see, because they think you need an organisation in order to live a life that's fulfilling, a religious life that's fulfilling. You need an organisation, you need Mother, because the organisation has taken over the mediating role of Jesus Christ. So they look to Mother for everything. So that's one question that many JWs have asked us when we were leaving is, well, where on earth do you think you're going to go? It's not where we were going to go, it's to whom we were going. And once we've realised what that answer was, it's very easy to answer them back now, if they were to ever talk to us again. You're right, one other thing, the New World Translation, wow, what a Bible. That's because that Bible has created so much havoc, that it's one of the big bugbears of all ex-JWs. And you'll find much out there on postings from individuals that show that they've been conned, that they've been scammed, because the Bible itself, the New World Translation, subverts the message of Jesus Christ. It demeans him. And so because of that, they really did genuinely think, and they do think, that they have the real Bible. But when they read it, they're not reading the real Jesus. And that's something that always needs to be kept in mind, because when they read other Bibles, and through Holy Spirit now, they can start to realise that, my goodness, I could not see him. I didn't see him, but now I can. And I can see him because of what other people are telling me from reading and studying from other Bibles. And to keep testing, as you pointed out from 1 Thessalonians, it's very true that they need to do that. I think I've waffled on enough. Thank you, Paul, very much. This is a message not only to Paul, but to all JWs and ex-JWs out there, that there are people out there that are willing and waiting for you to accept you with love and patience and understanding, and for you to just do one thing, and that is open up. Don't conceal how you're feeling, but share your feelings. And nothing is ever too small. Nothing is ever too small to share. And it's only by putting those building blocks in place that suddenly the bigger picture opens up for all of us. So thank you for that, Paul, and hopefully we're looking forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.